You know that feeling where you just get pushed and pushed and pushed until you can no longer stand it, right? And that's kind of personally where I was at in the work environment that I was in.
Whether it be trauma or past histories of patterns that may not have served them, right? If we're able to connect with it in a different way rather than something that we're falling victim to, it becomes a much more meaningful, wellness journey on that end.
Aloha, I'm Kaimana Souza, sitting in a wonderful place that you're going to get to see a little bit more about pretty soon. But in this episode of the Kanileʻa Ohana Spotlight, we're going to explore music, frequencies, connection, culture, healing, all kinds of wonderful things. And today we're going to talk with Dr. Kekoa Woodward and his wife, Dara Woodward, biohackers and the founders of Naʻau Pono Wellness and Aesthetics. So stay tuned. Aloha. Thank you guys for allowing us into your space, and welcome to the Kanileʻa Ohana Spotlight.
Mahalo for having us.
Mahalo. Welcome. Welcome to Naʻau Pono.
Thank you. I love coming here. So part of a disclaimer that I wanted to share with the viewers is that I actually am a patient here, and Kekoa plays a Kanileʻa ʻUkulele professionally as a gigging musician. So we just wanted to clear that up, and it doesn't change any of the facts of what we're going to discuss today, but we thought everybody should at least know that. So to get to know you guys a little bit better, I do have some cheesy questions. And they're cheesy, but they're always fun just to get some insight into who you guys are as people outside of Naʻau Pono. So for both of you, you can decide who answers first. Super cheesy question. If you could hang out with any musician, living or past, who would it be?
Oh, I don't know. The first face that came to my mind was Nat King Cole.
Okay.
Stole mine.
No,
Perfect for each other.
And it could be, and it could be because we play him, so much at home, and the kids just kind of hang out with it in the background. But then there's also George Helm is another. A lot of males coming right now. Yeah.
Well, it's good. Whatever comes first is what we want to hear.
Yeah.
So you got to pick a different one then.
No, so it's funny because it's along the same frequency, if you will. And I would say it's a toss-up between Richard Cowie and also, it's funny, Ella Fitzgerald. Just because of the range, man. She just she kills it on every end, just so free, and just the way that Richard Cowie plays, very reminiscent of the influences of Nat King Cole as well. So those are the first ones that come to my mind.
And I would want to ask her. I mean, the lyrics in some of their songs, they're so fun, And so I always want to ask her what was her inspiration.
Well, what's also funny too is that they don't even sing the actual lyrics that were written. Sometimes they add their own. So it's like they add their own element to it, which is pretty inspirational as a musician, but just kind of on the fly, if you will.
In the moment.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you mentioned kids. Tell us a little bit about them real briefly.
Yeah.
So we have 2 children, Isaac and Skylar. Isaac is going to be 12, and our daughter Skylar is
She's going to be 8. Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fun. The next question that I have, just to get to know you guys a little better, is what is your favorite song for you to sing and you to dance hula to, if there is one?
We had this question before, remember?
Oh, wow.
So he used to work for a private practice of physical therapists, and they threw us a really fun wedding shower, and it was our backs were facing each other, and he asked us a question, and then we had to write it on the board and show it at the same time and make sure. And it was crazy. So we got every single one of those questions correct, including what animal would he want to be.
Gosh,
And
it's like random questions.
I know.
Well, perfect. What animal did you write then?
It was a shark.
Yeah.
A shark. Cool.
But to get back to colors and all of that,
songs and whatever.
Yeah. But to get back to your question, the first song that popped up in our head, and the first song that pops up in my head right now is Ke Aloha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a song that we actually performed at our wedding. Yeah, so
Nice.
it was a treat to the family, but also for ourselves. This is the connection between Dara and I.
Well, and
Yeah.
also, and it goes back to the connection that we both have with my hula teacher, to Ponania Lama.
Miss
Every time I hear that song, it takes me back to every single time I watched her and her sister Auntie Lei dance that song, and it's just so beautiful, Yeah.
And the connection between music and the dancer, right?
Yeah. My parents, and it's funny you mentioned the wedding song. My parents' wedding song where my dad sang and my mom danced was Puahone.
Oh, beautiful.
But cool.
Reverend, yeah.
Yeah, those are just simple questions to, before we dive into, the Naʻau Pono side, just to get to know Kekoa and Dara a little bit better. Well, cool. Yeah, thank you guys for the insight into who you are as Kekoa and Dara outside of Naʻau Pono. But before we jump into those types of things, I was hoping we could do a breathing exercise of some sort for everybody here, us on camera, those behind the camera, and those watching us at home. If you could lead us through something to set our minds straight and be present.
Yes, absolutely. If you are listening to this and driving your car, obviously keep your eyes open. You can still do the breathing with us. But for those of you who are at home, or even if you're at your desk, this is going to be super quick, and it's just a moment to get grounded, get present, connect back to yourself. So if you can, put your 2 feet on the ground. Try and open up your palms, and if your 2 hands are touching, lay your palms gently on your lap and just gently close your eyes. And I just invite you to just listen to my voice. Feel whatever is supporting you, be it a chair or a stool or the ground, and just feel your body sink a little bit deeper. Imagine that you are touching the earth directly. And as you are touching the earth, your body is grounding. And just breathe easy, easy. Be in your body. And as we're doing this, I invite you to just make yourself just a little taller and see if you can open up some space in your neck, in your head, and continue to quiet down the rhythm in your body. And through your nose, just take a nice deep breath all the way to your belly. And blow it out in a sigh. And sometimes it helps to make that sound just to release tension, stress, anything you don't want to hang on to at this moment. So take a nice deep breath into your belly again. And let it out in a sigh. And just go back to easy breathing. And gently open your eyes. And welcome back.
That's why I love coming here. Stuff like that. Cool, thank you.
No, and thank you for doing that. It's a reminder for us too,
Absolutely.
to pull yourself back into the moment, back into our body, back into the now. So thank you.
Yeah, we've got all these lights and cameras around. It can, no matter how many times you do it, it can
Yes,
still sometimes bring on the
100%.
nerves. So good for us, and hopefully the viewers enjoyed that as well. So yeah, if we can jump into Naʻau Pono. What does that mean, Naʻau Pono? And what is your mission? Where are you guys coming from? What are you guys really trying to do?
Yeah. So let's start off with talking about what Naʻau Pono means. And if you don't mind me kind of briefly introducing how we came up with it.
Yeah, please.
Where originally I had this vision when I was, away at a retreat of sorts, and fasting for 72 hours. This is where a lot of things kind of came to mind, where I was like, oh my gosh, this is my vision, this is what I wanted to do. the original name that came to me when I wanted to start this, this wellness journey or this wellness practice, if you will, had to do with integrity. The word integrity came to mind, and I thought, oh, maybe the word integrity is going to be part of the name, right? And the more and more I talked with, the people that I surrounded myself with, as well as, people that are, very well versed within, Hawaiian culture, because I'm in the Hawaiian music community as well. I was very, very blessed. We were very blessed, to be given the name Naʻau Pono by Kekoa de Santos. And he's also a musician as well, composer, very well known, and very, in the Hawaiian, in the know-how, if you will, Lalo Hawaii as well. And he told me, after I explained to him, what I envisioned and what I was dreaming of, he said, "This is Naʻau Pono," and I think this is something that, you would be, very connected to, and something that you folks, emulate very naturally. And, I felt very, very blessed, and you could really, really feel it in your Naʻau, if you will. And because of how we approach things, we like to look at things in a very comprehensive way versus, just kind of looking at the surface. Or, for an example, I'm a physical therapist, right? And most of the time we're given prescription for one area of the body. For me, it's hard for me to just look at one area when I'm seeing a whole pattern or myriad of different things, not even just within the movement, but within what's happening, internally within their own body, right? Not just physically, but sometimes, and actually most of the times, something emotionally, something spiritually, right? And, these are all these different elements that make us up as human beings here on earth. So, the only way for me to really help people and curate, really, and that's our big vision and value, that we want to offer our clientele and, to all of Hawaii, as well as extend it out there in the world, is curate a specific program for the individual, and or if it includes the couple or Ohana, right, or family. And, we wanted to come from that very special, Hawaiian values, as we like to call it, right? And so Naʻau Pono was just such a fitting thing. We were very blessed to have, a logo that, my cousin was able to emulate really what encompassed us as Naʻau Pono, with the koru, kind of tying in with our roots and our cousins across the Pacific. As well as, the parallel lines that go across our name, right? That kind of move us in the same direction, right? And where they're not, the client is not alone, and we're not feeling like, in regards to the practitioner as, okay, it's your job to make me feel better. That's where we kind of get into the confusion, whether it be practitioner and or client or patient.
Yeah, and really, what we're trying to do here is help people on their journey to wellness. I mean, it was, for us, we had a lot of trauma. There were a lot of ailments that we didn't even know were ailments until we got older, until we started having children, and those ailments started getting passed on. And then we figured out there are other ways, there are better ways, to live truly a healthy and happy life. And we believe when you are happier, you are healthier. And when you're happier and healthier, you make better decisions and you can contribute better, to your community, and to the world. And so our mission here is just to bring an awareness, of other types of things, small little things that you can do. I feel like in our world, there's a misconception of, maybe there's one pill I can take or one thing that I can do. And it's a small little decision that you can make that will make huge impacts in your life and how you feel and how you think. Yeah. And so that's our mission, is to share what we learned, and hopefully, connect with those who are going through some of the same struggles we went through.
Yeah. And then I've been learning with you guys for probably like a year now. I think around there. So it's been awesome. Prior to Naʻau Pono, I heard you were working out of practice as a physical therapist, what clicked with you guys to go and do this? I mean, I know you said the retreat and these ailments that you were feeling personally, but I know it takes a lot to say, like, we're going to do this ourselves and do it our way and make this difference. Tell me about, like, that decision-making process as a couple and as a family.
So, I want to go ahead and say, to be very honest, this wasn't our intention. So where we were at, that feeling where you just get pushed and pushed and pushed until you can no longer stand it, right? And that's personally where I was at in the work environment that I was in. Mm-hmm. And, if something just pushed me to get out of where I was, and the other option was to go out on my own. Mm-hmm. And so I did that for a year, and he, in that time, went on that retreat. Mm-hmm. And he got pushed, had that same feeling of, this is no longer working. Like, it's really no longer working. And, he was like, why don't I try? And so honestly, it was out of, one, just being sick and tired of where we were at, right, doing the same thing and not getting a different result, and really wanting something different. And two, at the time, our son was 2 years old. So we just thought, it didn't make sense in our head. And it really didn't make sense when we started communicating it to people, like, oh, you're going to do fascias and he's going to do physical therapy. And so that part was just out of convenience. Why pay 2 rents and just share the same space? Mm-hmm. So, to be quite honest, that's how it started. Okay. When it came together, that's when we saw the potential, and that's when, really our biohacking journey started. We had our son, and he had some ailments, some, health challenges, and it was really him who inspired us to figure out this mystery that it was just so frustrating. His eczema, he had eczema, and it was so horrible. It was severe. I mean, they were open and weeping, and just something inside of us wasn't accepting the answers that we were getting, like, oh, it'll go away, or this is normal,
or put something on it,
right?
And
right.
Like, we thought we were doing everything right. We did everything according to whatever the standard was, and more, even to the effect of, like, okay, maybe we should just eat all organic, and most of us think, like, oh, that's the answer. All we have to do is just eat organic or eat local even, right? But there's so much more to that, right? And we had to go out there and get educated on all these different things, not just in respect to our profession, but even just overlapping ones, because we do get these questions, and me and Dara can attest to it. Like, if we don't know something, we're going to be completely honest. Yeah. We're not going to fool around and say, like, oh, maybe you should do this. If it's out of our scope, we'll be completely honest with you. But, because of the journeys that we went through of just, and the trials that we went through of feeling like, nothing's making sense because we're doing everything right in the sense at the time, right? And it wasn't until I did a Google search and I wrote out resilience. I typed it out on Google, the word resilience, because as she was mentioning, we were sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah. And it was every day, we would be exhausted, and like, why is this happening? Like, no, this shouldn't be, normal. So it was a simple Google search to resilience, and and whatever showed up was Dave at the time. Dave Asprey is the father of biohacking, and
Yeah.
And when was this? 2015, 2016?
2014.
Okay, 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then from there on, all we did was we just tried out something that was very out of the ordinary.
Well, I wouldn't say all we did. I mean, we went cold turkey. He started making this coffee, right, with the butter and the coconut oil.
Ghee?
Well, at the time it was
grass-fed butter at the time.
Okay. But first it was coconut oil.
I used coconut oil the first time.
And I remember I was like, I am not drinking this.
No. And I didn't blend it at the time. So it was very layered.
Separated.
I made all the mistakes. We made all the mistakes so that everybody doesn't have to.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah. We did. We tried it.
Yeah, and
you know,
I noticed that, you know, it changed our energy, but it just it wasn't sustainable, and it wasn't until I actually made the leap of actually, you know, implementing what was being educated to us. And, you know, once I did that, then I was like, hey, there's something to it. We could feel it and notice a difference. But what really kind of made it solid for us was noticing that when we increased saturated fats within our own son's diet, his eczema went away in 2 days, which made no sense to us whatsoever.
And all we did was stop giving him the Cheerios. We stopped feeding him the goldfish. We stopped feeding him, you know, those puff snacks that they sell. I don't even know what they're called anymore.
So basically, gluten and sugar was cut out, you know, from all of our diets. Like if we were going to do this, all of us were in.
Yeah,
right?
we cleaned out our pantry, and we went on some very expensive, to us at the time,
At the
right?
time, it was.
Because that's what we knew at the time, right? And so to us, it was expensive. It took effort to turn every box and package around and read through it
and learn about what is good for us and what is not. So
yeah. Well, I mean, as you know, I can connect with that very strongly. That is where we are as a family together, working with you guys. So I connect with that, and hopefully, you know, we can help you guys continue to spread that story, and especially with the intake, the gut, and I know that's a big thing, and I'm learning still and appreciate what I've been learning in that respect. How has it been so far? 10 years now, about 10 years later, 10th anniversary. You know, where are you guys? You know, how do you feel you've been doing? I know that's a loaded question.
There's a lot. There's a lot to that. I mean, I feel like so much has changed. You know, the way that we've evolved our individual contributions within our own professions. You know, within physical therapy, within the wellness program itself, it's evolved tremendously. The offerings of, you know, different supplementation, different programs of different tests, because we won't know where we're at unless we test first, right? Basic experiment, test, retest, so that we know that, you know, if we're doing what we're guided towards, in other words, then technically it should work, right? Sometimes it doesn't, but we have these tests and access and partners with a lot of other companies that not just test, but they also provide supplementation recommendations, right? And then we have other partnerships with other supplement companies that have pioneered, you know, really things that increase cell strength or increase the amount of mitochondrial production and strength, right? As well as the technology, partners with other companies that have pioneered, you know, technology that's out there that can help out in things that we never thought we would be able to, you know, be a part of.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, you know, 10 years, if you ask me, I would never think that we would have all these things.
Absolutely.
You know, and eventually outgrow the space. You know, I would, if you told me 10 years ago, oh, you know, you're going to be offering hyperbaric chamber services and, you know, PEMF and, you know, biocharger, which also uses PEMF, you know, frequencies. And we would be doing the things that we were doing today. I wouldn't be able to wrap my head around it, you know. So when I think about it, you know, there's parts of me I can't remember who we were 10 years ago, you know, and a lot of times what we were doing, it blows my mind, you know, and I can't believe it's already been 10 years, but yeah.
I mean, it's a blessing not only to just provide it, but we love to share it. And you know, some recent things that have happened within our journey too is being hired as consultants to help people design spaces and programs.
Wow.
So you know, that's another thing that we are very, very passionate about, is sharing, right, and educating. So.
You can tell, you know, just meeting you guys for a few minutes, you can tell that that's, you know, all of that's coming from your Naʻau, and it is genuine, and what's a good word? It's very satisfying. I don't know. I can't think of a good word, but it just feels good.
Yeah.
So in that, you touched on frequencies, and that was something that I wanted to talk with you folks about. there's science out there where people talk about frequencies, and you know, in school, I had a friend who did an experiment where would a plant grow quicker if it listened to certain types of music, certain genres, and you know, people talk about it, and it's out there. But I want to hear your understanding, your expertise on frequencies, music, and how that relates to the ukulele, and how that relates to healing and overall wellness.
I mean, so definitely now I understand it more, especially us, you know, educating ourselves within the biohacking community. I mean, and, you know, us doing personal development, right? That like we've learned a lot about frequencies. And I remember as, you know, when I started dancing hula as a child, my hula teacher, Miss Alama, would always tell me, you know, if you are not feeling good, if you're sad or down, get up and dance, right? And at the time, I didn't realize that it was the frequency of the music that I was hearing. It was the frequency of me connecting to the dance, you know, dancing to the song. And even just, you know, the frequency of me humming those songs. I remember, you know, or listening to those, playing those songs in my head. And, you know, today what we know in our biohacking community, you know, all these things that we have here emit a type of frequency that tap into healing, that tap into relaxation, that turn off, you know, your stress responses, feeling it, hearing it, being in it. You know, we know that there's frequencies that you cannot hear, but you can, and sometimes you cannot feel, but you are in it. And so, you know, that's how we understand frequency. And even just us sitting here, you know, together has a frequency. Every emotion has a frequency. You know, for example, fear has a different frequency that, you know, is a lower vibrating frequency than something like gratitude, you know, which has a higher frequency, and you can actually attract more of whatever that frequency, you know, that you are emitting or you are attracting. So that's
new to me. So when we feel certain emotions, our body emits frequency?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally new to me. That's cool.
Yeah, and it affects you on a cellular level, you know, and not just us, but even like your water, your food.
I mean, we are energetic beings, you know, to begin with, right? I mean, these are measurable things. I mean, we live in such an exciting time where things are measurable, you know, they kind of match the things that we thought, there's no way that that's true, right? But like Dara was mentioning, everything has such a frequency where, you know, things like, you know, the Hawaiian music that she was talking about with dancing, and the ukulele, you know, as you were asking about earlier, I look at it always as a lead instrument, right? Even though sometimes it plays rhythm, when it's at the forefront, right? And with all other supporting instruments, whether it be something lively or something that's just real easygoing, it puts you there where you want to be, or you will connect with it specifically depending on how you're feeling. Like, I want to listen to something super lively from, you know, Brian, you know, Tolentino or something, you know, because he plays some fun stuff, right? So we'll put that on, right? And then we'll do whatever, right? In that regard. So things like that. I feel, especially with the ukulele, like it does that for us.
My dad, he says it all the time, and he'll probably continue to say it, that the ukulele attracts good people. Like, everybody who we meet and have met in 26 years of Kanileʻa, you know, everywhere we go, the people who we meet related to ukulele are just always good people. Everyone's having a good time, and maybe it's the frequency that the ukulele gives off when you play.
I think it's the frequency, but I also think it's a Hawaii thing. It is Hawaii's instrument, and I think us as, you know, locals and Hawaiians, you know, we give off that frequency ourselves, you know, and I hope that it's felt throughout the world in that way.
Yeah, I mean, because we've been all over, you know, London, Manchester, Berlin, Madeira, you know, where our Portuguese ancestors brought their version of it, and the Braguinha, and introduced it to the Hawaiians, and everywhere we go, it's always a hoot. It's always a good time.
Well, and also you folks produce beautiful looking instruments. So, yeah.
I mean, down to the science, which I totally appreciate,
Yeah.
you know, to the minute detail.
Yeah. To the 1,000th of an inch.
Of an-
I was
Yeah.
blown away. I was
4
like,
decimal places.
these
Everything
guys,
we do
yeah.
got to be at least 4 decimal points.
and nobody does it like that,
Yeah.
you know?
But yeah, and I think it's a good segue to what you introduced to me when we first started talking about doing this episode, and that's Sanative Connection. And I got very strong feelings about the phrase and the overall just idea of what that is and what that means. And could you first just tell us, your definition of Sanative Connection?
So the word, I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know it was a word.
I mean, neither until you said it.
Yeah, and I have a coach, and she's been challenging me for quite a while to put an adjective or describe what it is I do. And I was like, I do facial. She's like, no, it's a little bit more than that. And she challenged me to really sit with myself, like, what is it that I do, right, for my customer, for the person that's in front of me when I'm connecting with them? Because that's really what it is, right? I mean, I can't explain why I know this person is in pain or sad or, I just feel it. And so I was in a facial, I was really concentrating on that, meditating on it, really. I mean, my facials are like my meditation. And this, I was asking, like, okay, asking, whoever's listening, my angels, if you folks had a word, what would it be? And this word came to my mind. And the first thing I was like, okay, well, I need an English word. I didn't know, I didn't know that was a word. And it just kept coming. It kept coming. And then another word came, which was thesaurus. And I was like, okay, well, I don't even know what to look up. So, the first thing I did was healing. And sanative came up. And I was like, oh my God. And it's really, the definition is, healing through connection. It's a felt sense of, being able to connect and vibrate on the same frequency, right? Yeah. In order to connect and heal, to get onto a higher frequency in order to elevate yourself and whatever it is that you are connecting with.
But I feel like also within the Sanative Connection, it's more than just between individuals. It's also, to your experiences, to whatever you're listening to, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're putting into your body. I feel like a lot of the experiences that people have went through in order to, or in previous to meeting us, in other words, they're sharing, whether it be trauma or past histories of patterns that may not have served them, right? If we're able to connect with it in a different way rather than something that we're falling victim to, it becomes a much more meaningful, wellness journey on that end. So I feel like Sanative Connection really overlaps all these different things, more than just the obvious, individual to individual type of interaction.
Yeah. And for everyone who walks in here, the Sanative part, it's the timing of them coming. It's the timing of us meeting. It's the timing of us knowing what we know, who we are, connecting with, these certain people. When I think about Sanative, I mean, I don't know how our connection would have been 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because, we didn't know all the things that we know today, or feel the way that we feel today about those things. Yeah.
I definitely resonate with that. Kayla, my fiance, and I talk about that all the time. Like, had we had met 6 or 7 years ago, or 6 or 7 years prior to when we did meet, would things have been the same? And we'll never know.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it worked out the way that it did, but I definitely resonate with that. And I also appreciate the timing of when I got to meet you folks and come
Likewise.
here. Yeah, sweet. Where in somebody's journey, whether it be at the top, should it be a priority to focus on the connection with the environment, with other people, or whatever else you may recommend? Where on the priority list do you find that for someone who wants to start their healing journey or expand on a journey they're already on?
So I think one of what we've learned for ourselves and what we help to coach people in is an awareness of connecting with yourself. There's so much of what we do, how we behave, the decisions that we're making, that is really, really all the answers are within us. It's so fascinating. The human body will store experiences, trauma
all over our body.
And they will come up without our human brain being able to really figure that out, or to really make sense of it, right? But why someone triggers you the way that they do, why when somebody says this, it you act a certain way, or why there's, even phobias, fears, things like that. And some of it, for a lot of people don't realize, like for him, some traumas happened in utero. How would you know that, right? But unless you really sat with yourself, and it takes practice, and sometimes it takes a really long time for you to connect with that part. And so really, I truly believe it's first and foremost, if you want a deeper connection with anything outside of yourself, it first needs to start within you, with your source. That's where the Sanative Connection should start.
Yeah. And, in addition to what you're saying, I think when people come in, it can come in at any phase of wherever they are in their life. And I think the thing that we take a lot of pride in is, utilizing this element of just listening, just being present, with that other person, or couple or ohana that we are with at that moment. I feel like even within the healthcare industry itself, it's so easy for us to pull ourselves out of that, where we're worried about the next client or the next patient or what's going to be happening after work, right? Rather than, let's just hear this person out and hear what they have to say. They have a history, because they're going to give you certain clues that may give you information on how to guide them. So it's a win-win situation if we just listen, right? So I feel like that element itself starts that journey in Sanative Connection, no matter where people are in their life. So there's some people that come in as a preventative, what we call like a primary preventative type of approach, which is awesome. You don't find that many. They're a dime a dozen. Yeah. Which a lot of us are so, like we feel compelled to just move and just do and
such a reactive
exactly
culture.
Rather than responsive, right? So it's interesting because we see a different balance of these different clientele. Yeah.
So with connecting with yourself first, would you say that finding a comfortable spot, comfortable chair, grabbing your ukulele and just playing some of your favorite songs, would you say that, and maybe playing songs that aren't necessarily so challenging, that you can just kind of play without thinking too much about the playing and really just enjoy the playing and sit with yourself and reflect? Would you say that that's maybe a good thing for people to do with their ukulele?
I would say so. There's that, but then, the nerdy part of me is like some of the things that I don't know how to do. I'd want to sit with it and learn it. Because that's just me. I like to challenge myself in those ways.
Is there healing in challenging yourself too?
Absolutely. Though? Absolutely. It's not until we bring ourselves to that threshold, that uncomfortable zone, is when we're going to see noticeable change, right? So fortunate to play with so many different musicians, play with my group, Valea, but also be able to play with other musicians of the past. And, starting when I was younger, up till today, I feel so blessed to be on stage with anyone I share stage with, dancer and musician.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like that's the only way, to grow.
Of course.
But, really, when you are uncomfortable and you are forced to make a decision, right? The brain doesn't like to change. It doesn't want you to change. It just wants you to do the same thing. Because in order to create a new brain pathway, I mean, it takes time, it takes effort. And for you to, it doesn't feel natural. And so in those moments, if you're ever struggling through something, you're like, well, I should be doing this. Maybe like how I was saying in the beginning, those micro decisions, but really it's your brain that's really trying to get you to be like, no, don't do this because we're used to doing this, so in those moments of that uncomfortable feeling, that's really when huge growth and change happens.
And physiologically too, like, there's growth factors, that actually occur in your brain to create growth and to create these different synapses when you challenge yourself to that threshold, right? And so, when you're getting into that pattern of just the same thing over and over again, obviously it's monotonous, but you're not going to see too much growth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So play the ukulele to relax, or play the ukulele to challenge yourself. And grow.
Both, man, at the same time.
All at the same time.
It's okay if it doesn't sound perfect,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. For somebody who, and this may be a hard question to answer, for somebody who may be listening and resonates with any of this, and maybe it's a new thing for them to make a change, challenge themselves, what is a good first step for them? And for us at Kanileʻa specifically, I'll share a little bit. First steps are important for us. So every single morning, one team member, whether it be sales, marketing, production, is asked to come up with an improvement in their station. Something as simple that could save 2 seconds. Every single morning, one person needs to come up with an improvement, and all they need to share with us is what the ultimate result is, but they need to share with us their first step. So what would you say is a good first step? Because we find when you know what your first step is, the next steps are a lot easier to take.
It can be as simple as just taking, the moment to breathe. Maybe every time your butt hits the chair as you get into the car, that's a reminder for you to take a deep breath and just be back in your body and not 5 minutes before or whatever happened yesterday, whatever is going to happen. Maybe every time your butt hits the toilet, you take a breath. Or every time you grab onto your front door before you step out, bring everything back to you, center, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah. I feel like when we're setting ourselves up to not be there just to make it in time, we allow ourselves to get into that position of being able to take that breath as well. I think a lot of us feel like, have we get time? Or it's like, we get very stressed out about the traffic part, right? And sometimes we can't help it, right? And, instead of putting the stress on ourselves, like that, taking a breath makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
But you took those words right out of my mouth too. I was thinking the same thing of, how you would start your day and how you would start everything. It would start there, the breath.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can people, whether they're in Hawaii or, on the mainland or even international, can they get some time to talk with you folks, to meet with you folks? Is that something that you folks offer here at Naʻau Pono?
Yeah, for sure. We do a number of different consultations on so many different levels. We do site visits as well.
Okay.
For different clientele and businesses. And but yeah, I mean, very frequently, the training happens every week or so, with on her end within aesthetics. But people can totally book in person or via Zoom or however.
Yeah, especially in today's world, we do a lot of Google Meets and Zoom. I think for us, the only challenging part is the time zone, difference. You know, but
there's a compromise that needs to occur because 4 a.m. is a little early for us. You know.
Yeah. But sometimes we gotta do it.
Sometimes we do it.
Understand. How can they reach out to you?
So they can check out our. We do have a website. It is going through some reorganization, and we're adding on a lot of new things that we're doing. We also have Instagram, Naʻau Pono Wellness, and they can contact us through there.
Naʻau Pono Aesthetics as well.
And Naʻau Pono Aesthetics as well.
I think that'll be the best ways to kind of take a look at what's going on with us as well. In the meantime, as Dara was mentioning, we are going through a big change in our website and how we're delivering the services that we want to provide.
Okay.
Yeah, and we will physically be moving our location at the end of the month.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So we're going through, a transition, but our Instagram is always the best way. DM us. Our numbers, our individual numbers are on there, and everybody is welcome to use those numbers and call us, text us, and we can connect in that way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any, sounds morbid, do you have any last words to share? Any last words to share?
No, I mean, I just want to, when you're talking about frequencies and, where people are at, just where you're at, it's a good reminder for us too. You are exactly where you should be, and it's okay. And there's always, if you want to make it better, we all have choices, and there's always a way to get to where you want to be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that, because if you're watching this, you're on the Kanileʻa YouTube channel, which is where you should be. No, all jokes aside. I had to throw that in there, sorry. But no, thank you for that. And thank you again for allowing us into your space. I know we took up a lot of your space here and took up some of your time. I've been really excited to do this. When we had to book it a month out, I was like, shucks, a whole month I gotta wait to do this. No, but it allowed me to research, and just very grateful for this opportunity, and hopefully we can all move forward in new ways and meet new people and just continue connecting.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for allowing us to share, our story.
And I know there's a lot to be shared, so maybe there's other things that we can do. Let us know if there's anything else. Let us know in the comments if there's anything else that, maybe we could come back and bug them a bit more and talk more about that, some more specific things. But thank you again, and take care out there. Follow Naʻau Pono Wellness and Naʻau Pono Aesthetics. Right?
Oh, and I'm sorry, we have a podcast as well.
Okay.
And it's going to continue to add on more guests as time goes on. Optimize Your Naʻau.
Is that on YouTube?
It is on YouTube. It's also on Spotify and Apple.
Beautiful.
Yeah. The podcast.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So be sure to follow them. We'll have all of their links either on screen or in the description. And let us know if you have any questions in the comments. And take care out there. Strum your ukulele. And aloha.
Aloha.